Hello, welcome to InSight. I'm Wendy Brokaw. When the COVID pandemic hit, people scrambled to find what they needed and carry on with a shutdown in place. Center 50 Plus was on the front lines of meeting the needs for people they serve, and from that, they created a new sustainable model for its programs and services, incorporating some of the things they learned and making those a priority. But only weeks ago, it faced making drastic cuts in its productions and programs and services. Staff cuts? But all that changed. And what a change. Here to talk about that is Marilyn Daily-Blair. She's the director of Center 50 Plus. Marilyn, thank you so much for joining us today. You've always been an honored and frequent guest on InSight, and I'm so glad to see you again.
Oh, thank you so much. I love being here.
Well, you have some big news to share. Tell us, what's going on?
Well, Center 50 Plus, recently in May, thanks to our community, a operating levy was passed to support community services, and Center 50 Plus was a part of that vote. And that has been a relief, although that levy did not allow us to increase, and it was at kind of a reduced rate from our previous budget years. It did give us a stabilizer for a period of 5 years that will allow us time to really look at our operations and see what we want to do differently, what services we really need to be offering, and kind of spruce up our strategic operation plan. Because of that, it inspired some of our local philanthropic givers to consider Center 50 Plus. And in support of and in celebration of the community supporting us, we received a $2.7 million 3-year grant to support our outreach efforts at Center 50 Plus. While the levy is stabilizing kind of our day-to-day operations, it did not have the resource in it to really meet the growing need. And senior population is a fast-growing and one of the largest growing groups, and the first time ever that it has been comparable to children and those individuals 18 and older. So the need is outpacing the actual city of Salem budget, and therefore our local givers have said we want to meet the need. And so with this grant, we've been challenged to grow our service level from $15,000 a year to double that to $30,000, 30,000 people a year.
Wait a minute, to see if I understand that correctly, doubling the amount of people you serve from 15,000 to 30,000?
That is correct. The goal of this grant is to serve more seniors, and there is a lot of seniors that are still in need. The other part of the grant is to grow our volunteer workforce from 465 to 2,500. Serving as a volunteer hub and really engaging every senior in this community to give back. And then the third part, and our 501c3 Friends organization that received this grant. I must recognize that really those funds go to our nonprofit. They have received the funds to help them as a nonprofit strengthen their future and to seek really some changes to their operations to make them even stronger fundraiser and partner to the Center 50 Plus. And so some work's going to be happening there as they embark on those 3 big components. So an increase in outreach, an increase in senior engagement, and of course strengthening the nonprofit organization Friends of Center 50 Plus.
What was the reaction to this grant being given, this gift?
Well, I have to say, I went into the cafe where my president was working, and I said, Karen, I need you to sit down. And the reason I did that is I knew that this kind of news was going to be a shocker, because we have never received anything close to this generosity at Center 50 Plus. This is the biggest gift of our existence. And so she sat down and I told her, and it was, both of us were laughing and happy, but also tears of joy, because we're all passionate about serving seniors. And when your resources are limited and you can't truly, fully fulfill your mission by serving those that need you, it can be discouraging. And this is the first time that we get to really do what we need to do. And that's why the donor gave it to us, is we are to serve more seniors. As a matter of fact, the initiative is called Serve More Seniors. And so we were very excited and shocked.
And delighted and thrilled. And now you can go ahead with your plans. Did you have a 3-year plan in place already based on what you learned from the pandemic and what people were telling you then, and what you learned by assisting people in need back then when it was so hard on everyone?
Absolutely. During the pandemic, we found seniors in the community that, due to mobility and proximity, were unable to connect and engage with Center 50 Plus. You know, we're located on Portland Road, a beautiful building, and people come from all over the Willamette Valley to that location. But there is a portion of our population that will never engage in that space. It was very building centric. What the pandemic really forced us to do was look at being a community designed activity, meaning we're taking our services out to the community. So that's how the WOW van came into existence. Wellness on Wheels allowed us to deliver services to front porches and neighborhoods. And yes, that was because everything else was shut down during COVID. But we know that there is a group in our community that feel most comfortable receiving service and supports in the neighborhoods and homes that they love. And so that's why you see us in parks in different neighborhoods, and why you see us in clubhouses at manufactured home parks and 55 and older clubhouses and apartment complexes. And so we know that by going to people's community where they feel most comfortable, they're going to get the resources they need. They're going to be able to age in place. And ultimately, that is everyone's goal, is to remain in their homes and neighborhoods where they love and where they feel comfortable, and as long as they possibly can. And so the WOW van.
What does the WOW stand for?
Wellness on Wheels.
Wellness on Wheels.
Basically, it is a mobile senior center. Everything we do at Center 50 Plus, we put in that mobile vehicle, and we go out to their neighborhoods. And it can include exercise, arts and crafts. It can include tech support, education, health. It's just a full variety. And really, each neighborhood and each kind of pocket that we go to kind of directs what they're most interested in.
Did anything surprise you about what they're most interested in? And more than that, what skills they had that would actually make a nice fit?
You know, I think that we always know that technology is a barrier. You know, loneliness and isolation, it really impacts everyone. You know, seniors are not alone in that epidemic of isolation and loneliness. But for some, they at least have some kind of connection to the outside world through technology. But what if you do not have access to technology or technology skills, and you're isolated to your home? How do you reach out? How do you connect? And so bringing technology training, access to technology to people's homes or to their neighborhoods, it became a priority during COVID, of course, because everyone needed it, from grocery shopping to accessing their banks. But we know that there is so much potential if we can connect people through technology. We can actually connect people back to Center 50 Plus to take a class or to join a support group or get resources they need. And so we do know that that's one of the things we work on. The other is we know that art the act of creating an art piece, whether it's drawing or painting, is not only good for our brains, but it actually is a nurtures, the process of that nurtures the building of community. So when we're out in these parks and we're doing a watercolor class, we're not just focused on the watercolor class, we're focused on connecting people to each other. And the act of art is like the vehicle to accomplishing that. So art and crafts and game playing, all of that takes place through the WOW van, and it's ever changing. It's seasonal. So certain things will be out in the parks in the summer, and then in clubhouses during the fall and winter and holiday time, and then we move back out in the spring. Just trying to address kind of the interests of our community.
Well, coming up soon is a big event that might even spur people to make some new connections at this event. It's your annual Boot and Scoot.
That's right, Boot, Scoot, Brew, and Music Festival. So every year we just add one more thing to the title. Pretty soon it's going to be a sentence this long, but we have been doing this off and on for 14 years, and the Boot, Scoot, and Brew is a all-day food and music event, and this is our second year at the Riverfront Park Amphitheater.
What day?
This is on Saturday, September 6th, runs from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. We have 9 bands, 10 food trucks, 20 vendors.
Oh my goodness.
A bouncy house. And you know what? You get all of that for just a $5 admission. Where do you get that?
I love it.
People can bring cash or card and enjoy a meal, an adult beverage if they choose. But 100% of the proceeds come back to Center 50 Plus Friends organization to support our outreach efforts. And our sole purpose of outreach is to provide people connection and resources and support to end social isolation and loneliness. And we are doing that one neighborhood at a time, one person at a time, and all the resources from the Boot, Scoot, and Brew will go to that. And because connecting people looks different for everyone. It can be a class, it can be an event, it can be a one-on-one exchange, it can be the Canine Corps.
Ooh, what's that?
It's a dog visitor program. So people bring in their loving dogs and people can enjoy that companionship of a loving dog for an hour. We have one-on-one driver program where a friend will pick up another friend and take them to valuable appointments. So the way the WOW van and the Wellness on Wheels program works is ever growing and changing. And the final piece of the Boot, Scoot, and Brew is we are unveiling a brand new program at Center 50 Plus called...
Drum roll, please.
Drum roll, called Connection Kitchen.
Connection Kitchen?
That's right. Connection Kitchen is an extension of the Wellness on Wheels program, and it is a mobile food cart that is going into... manufactured home parks and 55 and older apartment complexes, and delivering a congregate meal, hot meal program at these different locations. So we'll pull up the food cart and the WOW van, and people will come out and they'll collect their hot meal for the day and go into the clubhouse together, where they will have lunch together, camaraderie, and then some type of activity. Sometimes it'll be yoga, sometimes it'll be an art class or a book club. But it's about kind of remembering that a lot of our healing comes from connection and socialization. And you know, a natural is socialization around a good meal.
You bet.
And so this does not replace Meals on Wheels. Meals on Wheels is an amazing program that delivers a meal every day to an individual that is a shut-in or in need of a nutritious meal. And their growth continues. And This is addressing one different type of group that could use a nutritious meal once a week, but they're really looking for the social component, and they have mobility or concerns with driving or trying to connect to transportation to come to Center 50 Plus. This is us taking our services to the neighborhood.
And the role of volunteers, that means you're going to be getting different kinds of volunteers. I recall that you had something like 200 programs. Am I right about that?
That is correct.
And that's always changing, and with it maybe different volunteers with different skills?
Absolutely. So
What's going on now?
You know, what's so fantastic is why I love my job, honestly, is when someone walks in the front door at Center 50 Plus, or I go out into an outreach and I am visiting with someone. Not only am I enjoying just getting to know somebody new, but I am enjoying knowing that person in a deeper way. What are they passionate about? And what are their skills and talents that they contribute or could contribute? Now, it does happen where people say to me, oh, I don't really have much to give. Or, I didn't know if you would need me. And our job is for people to be able to look in the mirror and reflect back what their gifts and talents are, remember those, and how they are valuable to our community, and how we can help them connect to a place where they're going to give back, and they're going to feel better themselves and improve their own health by volunteering, but they're going to be helping their peers remain in their homes as long as possible, and that they are able to age in place. And it's peer support, senior helping seniors. And the grant really is going to allow us to identify more seniors to help more seniors. And that's how the process is going to work. But it's about helping people really look into their hearts and remember what their talents are and how those are important to their neighbors and how it's important to their community.
What happened, I wonder, with this pandemic when people were so shuttered in, just all people, how to overcome that must be you just do it. You try to connect with people in the neighborhood and wander out of your home every so often and greet somebody. You may not know their name. They may have lived there for years and you still don't know them very well. Is that a societal issue, or was it always that way?
You know, I think, well, I can only give my personal opinion, but I do think that we got out of the habit of connecting during COVID. I think that some of our social skills in connecting and conversing and putting on our clothes and marching out the door instead of our sweatpants, I think we got into a routine, and it's an act of discipline to break out of that. And we use the peer model. I call it peer support. Some people call it peer pressure. But it is seniors saying, come on, come with me, we're going to yoga. Or, I'm going to volunteer, come on, you're going with me. And it's really, helping people remember that, let's put one foot in front of the other, let's give back to our community because it feels better.
How have you seen it working? Can you give me an example of just this sort of, what you'd observe?
We observe it on a regular basis. Just not that long ago, I had an individual that said, I came in for one thing and then I found out I was needed here. And now I'm teaching a class. We have a couple of really amazing musicians, and they came in kind of with the idea that they were going to do a performance, and discovered that their music was loved so much, and now they're doing it in nursing homes. And they were inspired by the need, but they were inspired by others that were giving back and discovery. Purpose is a key component in healthy aging. And you can be busy all day doing stuff and still feel lonely. Because if you're not doing it with an intentional purpose, where another really recognizes and values what you're doing, you may still feel disconnected. So loneliness is not just about being alone. You can be lonely in a room full of people. But if you aren't connected and you don't recognize what your role and value to the rest of the people in the room, you can still feel lonely.
You mentioned the role of art and music and people with lots of skills. Every generation has things that they put up with, certainly World War II, people who came out of that. Do you have ways of talking about how you experienced your growing up years? What was big in your growing up years? So many decades ago, you've forgotten, but connecting with people and their experience of it, how they experienced the same times, like the civil rights era, all the things that are common that people younger, much younger than us, much younger than we are, have no knowledge of and don't see you in that context.
Yes. What a great question. We have a program called Generations Over Dinner. Generations Over
Dinner?
Yes, Generation Over Dinner was started in partnership with Western Oregon University's gerontology program. Students came and they facilitated a meal with people of all ages. And they would pose questions that had commonality among all generations. So it would be certain questions that we all have experienced, and how did they handle it, and then it has progressed to be even asking some community needs and getting feedback on how would you address this, or what is your opinion on this. And that can be from our unsheltered population, it can be mental health issues, financial issues. It's just really just asking people from different generations and perspective and having a respectful conversation. One great one, the very first one we ever did was on stereotypes of different ages.
Oh, fascinating.
And so I had a college student, early 20s, say, well, I believe that seniors don't like change. And a senior said, I believe that people in their 20s don't like to work. And so I was like, oh wow, where's this gonna go? It was amazing and it was fantastic, because ultimately they at the very end realized that if you've met one 20-year-old, you've met one 20-year-old. And if you've met one senior, you've met one senior. But you can't lump everybody together. And what the woman said about being resistant to change, she said, I have friends that have been resistant to change since they were 20. So it's a personality type, not an age type. And it was really interesting how they worked through it. And in the end, some really great relationships came out of that.
That's a powerful reminder that if you leave the door open to learning from someone else, sitting there and just listening to what they have to say, you may actually have facilitated real communication just by listening.
Well, and if you really look at, some core concerns in our community, I think this 8-person Generations Over Dinner concept, where you have intimate conversation over a meal on very hard topics, could be really powerful. And that's what Center 50 Plus does, is we bring these people together and we pose questions that are about, your future. It's really fun to talk with a whole group of different ages about what is your plan for the future. If you're a senior, you have a different future plan. If you're a younger person, you may have a whole life ahead of you that you're planning. But having that experience and together talking about it reminds you, first, how beautiful life can be, but it also reminds you that life is not forever. And so those kind of things are what come out of it. And so yes, we do. We encourage those kind of conversations, because that's how people work through some of the concerns they have. You know, some of the things in our world can be pretty scary sometimes.
Yes.
And where do you go to, I mean, we can't all go to counseling, and maybe we don't need that, but we want to have an open discussion where it's in a safe space. That's what this is set up for. Because it's not always appropriate to talk about all of the world concerns at a pottery class or something like that. It may not be the safe environment for it. But Generations Over Dinner is an intentional program designed to allow people to have an expression of concerns and feelings and hopes and dreams and fears and all that goes into it.
That's pretty powerful. Tell me, how are you going to sustain yourselves, Center 50 Plus, for older adults going into the future? What's your dream and what's the reality, and what would be the optimum?
We're celebrating 50 years.
50 years!
Yeah, 2026 is our 50th year in existence, and I think we've kind of grown up a little bit. I think that we're getting ready to, celebrate being 50. And by doing so, I think that we're in a space to look at who do we want to be in the future? What's the community need? So I think there's going to be ongoing dialogue about, how can Center 50 Plus serve today's seniors, but how are they going to serve tomorrow's seniors? And I think we need some open conversations and people of all ages, a whole lot of generations over dinner, talking about what should Center 50 Plus be moving forward. But we do know that the need is great, and that people are still needing the same resources that they've always needed. People are worried about Social Security, and they're worried about Medicare. They're worried about rent costs. They're worried about their health care. There are things that have continued to be an unresolved issue for all of these folks' lives. And I think they're at a space where they're still needing the resources to face those. We'll continue to do that. I think outreach is the answer. Being out in the community and serving people where they live is super important. It's great to have a hub. Center 50 Plus be the hub, because a lot of people, 1,000 people a day, like to come there. But there's probably 60,000 that could benefit from the services we offer. So we need to go out there and we need to continue to pound the pavement and find every older adult that could potentially use our resources and services and serve them where they live. So a lot more outreach and a lot more WOW Van and a lot more community kitchens, connection kitchens, and it's a feasible way of doing business because we're just utilizing unused real estate, unused properties. We're not building. We're not taking on an entirely new administration. And lastly is we have 9 core senior centers in Marion and Polk County. And our goal with this new funding and with all of the work we're doing is we want to strengthen those partnerships. We need every senior center in our counties to thrive and be all that they can be. The population of older adults to serve is far greater than one center can serve, or even 3 centers. It's going to take all 9 centers in Marion Polk County being at their top level to meet the needs. And we want to support that and encourage that relationship and partnership.
How can people learn more about Center 50 Plus and how to volunteer?
It's so easy. You can go to cityofsalem.net to find out about our programs, our activities, our services. On there is a volunteer application. You just download it, fill it out, and bring it in. We like to make that first connection. There's a little bit of a background process, but we try to make that as painless as possible. But if you want to be a part of things at Center 50 Plus, I always encourage you to come on over, find a way to come to Center 50 Plus, take a tour, see what we're all about. give us a call. We have a volunteer coordinator. She's amazing. Her name is Jasmine. She is bilingual, so if you have a family or friends that are in their primary language is Spanish, she can help you. If you are really interested in teaching or contributing or sharing your times and talents, there's a couple of ways of doing that. You can volunteer. You can also be a contractor for us, and you can, there's just so many different ways. So if you're in that encore career where you just want to teach a little, you need a little income, come see us. We can help you out. If you want to volunteer, you get to set the parameters, and we'll find a place for you. And if Center 50 Plus is not the right place for you to volunteer, we don't have the right job for you, or your talent is something different than we are utilizing, we have a program called Act Now, awesome community team, and we help place volunteers in other nonprofits and other community projects, and we are happy to assist you in finding the right volunteer place. We go back to, we work our bodies for our hearts, for cardiovascular health. We volunteer for our overall heart health. Volunteering is good for us. It's good for our aging, and we want to make sure people embrace it as much as they do with their 20 minutes of treadmill work a day, that they work that heart of giving back to others at the same pace.
Marilyn, it's been so enjoyable, actually spellbinding, listening to you again. I love this. I've learned so much today, and it's a wonderful feeling. I'm sure our audience knows more now than they may have known before about what you do and where they might fit in and want to learn more.
I love it so much, and I just so thankful. Everyone of all ages are going to come out for the Boot Scoot and Brew on Saturday, September 6th, because it is open to all and family friendly.
You bet. Thank you for being my guest again today on InSight. And thank you for joining us today on InSight. I'm Wendy Brokaw.